Sociological Theories of Crime. We are talking today about week number 4, Sociological Theories of Crime. Okay, sociological explanations of crime. Of course, you remember that that during the first week we have explained what is criminology, what is crime, and how crime is changing from society to society and changing from time to time. Why? Because what is crime or not a crime, that depends on the laws, depends on whether there is a legal statement saying that a particular behavior is illegal or not. That's why what is illegal today, maybe it was legal a few years ago, right? And what is illegal in a country might be illegal in another country. What is illegal in a country might be legal in another country, and vice versa. You get my point? So laws are changing. And also deviance. What is deviance? Deviance is a socially rejected behavior. We have covered that in the first week. And in the second week, also, these were not the only things that we covered in the first week, but we talked also about social control, formal social control and informal social control. We talked about conformity and the legislative authority and the judicial authority and uh, the executive authority. In week number 2, we talked about the collection of data in criminological research, and we had 4 sources of data collection that we talked about, such as the official statistics, and we discussed why the official statistics are not enough, and also we discussed the self-reporting surveys, and we discussed the victimization surveys and the observation. These are 4 sources of data collection in criminological research. Okay. In week number 3, we discussed the non-sociological theories of crime. We talked about the demonic era. Then we talked about the classical school of criminology. And inside or under the classical school of criminology, we had the rational choice theory. And then we moved to the updated version of the classical school of criminology, which is the neoclassical school of criminology, which added lots of improvements to the original theory. Okay. Then we talked about the biological approach, Cesar Lombroso and William Sheridan, and the criticisms against the biological approach and how the biological approach helped in promoting several types of discrimination in the society, such as racial discrimination, for example. Okay? And we talked about the psychological explanations of crime, and under the psychological explanations of crime, we had the psychoanalytic theory, we had the social learning theory, and we had the psychopathy. Okay? Then we moved to week 4, the sociological theories of crime. And although we talked about the first couple of theories, but I will start from the beginning now, so everybody will pay attention, and that will be a good revision for the exam. Okay, fine. So we have here 3 main sociological schools that are discussing criminal behavior, and under each of them we have some theories. Okay, we have the school which mainly cares about social stability. What is the name of this school? Which school mainly cares about social stability and says that social stability is the most important factor to maintain well-being and in any society. It is the most important factor that can prevent a crime, can prevent problems, can prevent deviance, can, okay? Not totally prevention, of course, it aims that it will prevent, but when you go to real life, you don't find total prevention. What is the name of this school?
Chicago.
Excuse me? Which school, which of the 3 that we discussed last class? We had 3 schools: structural functionalism, the conflict theory, and symbolic interactionism. Which one of them cares about social stability very much and thinks that social stability is the most important factor.
Structural functionalism.
Excellent, very good. Structural functionalism. And it is called structure. Why it's called structure? Because it thinks that the society is
Because
one.
interconnected like a building.
Excellent, excellent, very good. Because it thinks that the society is one interconnected, interrelated building. And the most important aspect in any building is what? The
The
stability of the
pillar.
building.
Pillars.
Exactly, exactly. And in the society, which parts of the society are resembling the pillars of the building? The social organizations.
Or
So the social organizations, such as the family, such as the school, the media, the government, and the different social organizations, according to the structural functionalism, they are resembling the pillars of the society, which are doing an important function, okay, in maintaining the social stability. Okay, so the pillars in the building are maintaining the building's stability, right? But the social organizations are maintaining the stability of the society, which is a building here. Okay, so according to the structural functionalism, if the social organizations are doing their functions properly, the stability of the building will be maintained. The stability of the society will be maintained. The stability of the structure will be maintained. Okay, and they think that the problems only come when some social organizations fail to perform their functions properly. Okay, when the school, for example, or the family, or any part of the building, any part of the society fails to perform their functions properly, that is weakening the stability. Okay, and when the stability gets weakened, problems arise. Okay, you understand this part? Okay.
yes, sir.
And they think that any quick, rapid social change, okay, could weaken the functions of the social organizations. Okay, you get it? And if these social organizations become too weak to maintain the social stability, so in this case, instead of strengthening social stability, they will be weakening social stability. You get it, guys?
Yes.
Okay. And since they think that very quick social change is the cause of that, is the cause of the weakness of the functions of the social organizations, okay, they the very early scholars such as Emile Durkheim, for example, of structural functionalism, they were talking about the impacts of the industrial revolution in Europe. That, for example, the suicide rate increased after the industrial revolution, and crime rate increased as well. Okay, and because people were before the industrial revolution, when Europe was still agricultural, they were living together as one united family, who are working together, who are the family is one unit of production, one unit of consumption. They live together, they take care of each other, they protect each other, they supervise each other, they look at the behavior of each other, they do informal social control. That's why I reminded you today of the week one, when we talked about formal and informal social control. Informal social control is very effective. Why? Because it comes from the people who care about you. It comes from your family members and your close friends and your close community members who care about you and you care about them. Okay, and they don't, whenever they see you doing any deviant behavior or criminal behavior, or behavior that is not good enough, they offer you the advice, they try to correct your behavior, because you are important for them and they are also important for you. So sometimes you prevent yourself from doing a behavior that is wrong, Not because you don't want to do it, you want to do it, but because you think that that would might embarrass them, that they will not be happy about this behavior. So this social bonding is important in socially controlling the individual's behavior. Okay, that's why one of the theories under structural functionalism is called the control theory. Okay, the control theory. What is control? It comes from proper social control as one of the functions that are done through the social organizations. The family is doing informal social control, right? And your peer group are doing informal social control. Okay, and your community is doing informal social control. So if you are attached to these groups of people, if you are attached to the family, if you are not disconnected from them, okay, if you are attached to a peer group that is not a criminal peer group, but they are a peer group that they want you to be always a better person and doing better behavior. Okay, and if you are attached to a community who cares about you and you care about them, okay, that would help you staying on the straight path and not doing criminal or deviant behavior, right? Okay, we understand this part. And that's why when people were living together in small communities where all of the families know each other and everybody knows that you belong to this family and this person belongs to that family. So whenever anybody is doing anything wrong, they get quickly corrected. Okay, you get it? So one of the theories under structural functionalism is the control theory. Okay? And it's called the control theory because it is referring to social control. If social control is done properly, crime rate, deviance rate, okay, usually is less. Okay? While when social control becomes weak, the crimes rate gets higher. Okay, and we have two kinds of social control: informal social control and formal social control. Informal social control usually happens through verbal, emotional, social tools. Okay, such as when your parents, for example, are criticizing you or are angry from you about doing a particular behavior that they didn't like. This is informal. Okay, but when you get a deduction from your marks in the university, or you get a ticket in by the police because of over speeding on the highway, that is formal. Okay, what is happening in small communities is the informal more than the formal, and the informal is more efficient than the formal. Why? Because it comes from the people who know you and who are with you all of the time. Okay, but the formal, it is still important and effective, but not as to the extent of the informal. Why? Because the ones who are doing formal social control are not with you all of the time. The authorities, the official formal authorities, are not seeing your behavior all of the time. Okay, you get it? So so the informal is, if the informal social control is done properly, usually it reduces the crime rate very much. Okay, or it prevents many crimes in the society. But when people get disconnected and losing this social bond, okay, they are more likely to do deviant and criminal behavior. Okay, so under structural functionalism, there are several theories. One of them is the control theory. Why it's called control? Because it talks about social control. Okay, and we said there is informal social control and formal social control, and in small communities like in agricultural villages, there are few, usually in each neighborhood there are few families who know each other and who are doing very close informal social control, okay, of each other and of their own individuals. Okay, because the individuals are having a strong social bond with the family, And that's why there is a sub theory from the control theory called social bond theory. You have it in your slides, okay, and you have it in your chapter. Social bond theory. It is a sub theory under the control theory. And the control theory itself is under what? Under structural functionalism. Okay, fine. Now, in the 19th century and in the 20th century, and that is still happening until now, more and more people are leaving their families and leaving their small communities and immigrating to the city, right? And we say that many of these people, or most of these people at the beginning, they are unemployed, or and even when they get a job, it's a low payment job, so they are suffering from relative poverty, right? And when they immigrate to the city, they live in areas called transitional zones. Okay, the transitional zones. When you look at the pictures in your book, you'll find that the city has zones, has circles. You have the very central one is the business zone. Zone number one is the zone in which there are the expensive companies, and there's in this place usually there is very strong surveillance and policing and security. Therefore, that is preventing many crimes. Okay, but in zone number two, this is called transitional. Why it's called transitional? Because new people who are coming from villages and who are coming from other countries go to this zone first. Okay, this zone is very crowded, has cheaper homes because the homes are deteriorated condition. They are not well maintained. Many people are sharing together the same apartments, even if they don't know each other and they don't have any connection with each other. Okay, um, it's called transitional because new ones are coming to live there for some time until their economic conditions becomes a little bit better, then they go somewhere else. So all of the time new ones are coming and some people are leaving, newcomers and ones are leaving and some ones are leaving. Why this is a problem? Because there is no chance to form a community. There is no chance to form a community in which the members are attached to each other and they have good connection with each other in a way that will do informal social control, as what was happening back in the village, for example, when they had few families living together in the same neighborhood, where they were all knowing each other. You get the point? Okay, so that happened in many big cities in the world, including Chicago. Including Chicago, it was one of the very fast industrializing places in the US. And the scholars in Chicago University, they started to study the impacts of these changes and talk and discuss that and study how that is impacting the crime rate and the patterns of crime and the factors which impact crime. Okay, and they call it the Chicago School of Criminology. But that doesn't mean that it only happens in Chicago. We talked about when these factors happen together, okay, that that can happen in any big city in the world. It can happen in Chicago, it can happen in Vancouver, in Toronto, in any Indian or Egyptian or African or whatever big city in the world. Okay, you can find uh, these factors. Urbanization. What is urbanization? People moving from the rural areas, like villages, to the cities.
Cities.
Urbanization. Okay, and I want you to think when they move to the city at the beginning, they are still without work, so they are unemployed, or they have jobs, but they are low payment jobs. Very few ones get high payment jobs whenever they come to the city, right? How many of your of the other youth that you know, whenever they arrive to Vancouver, for example, they got a high payment jobs. Do you remember any number of people that you know that whenever at the first time that whenever they arrived to Vancouver, they quickly got a high payment job? As far as I know, they are very, very few, right? Okay. Usually people at the beginning are either unemployed or in low payment jobs. So with urbanization, okay, usually there is poverty and unemployment. And when I say poverty, this is relative poverty, not absolute poverty. Absolute poverty means that they are starving, okay? But relative poverty compared to the general standard of living of the society they are living in, okay? So relative poverty, okay, unemployment, urbanization, okay. Are the newcomers only coming from the villages or coming from other countries as well? Coming from other countries as well. So there is immigration, okay? And why they are coming? Because there is industrialization. So industrialization, urbanization, immigration, relative poverty, unemployment, okay? And in these places, the maintenance and the care that the authorities are giving to these places, okay, is usually less than the other neighborhoods, which are having more upscale population. Okay, uh, okay, you get my point. And in these places, the criminal gangs are usually present in these places as well. I'm not talking about my personal opinion, guys. Remember, I'm talking about which theory? I'm talking about Chicago School of Criminology, which is under the title of structural functionalism. And it explains why the very fast social change is weakening the social organizations. And the weakness of the social organizations, okay, is weakening the social stability. And the weakness of social stability leads to more criminal and deviant behavior. You get it? Okay. So now people are living together, okay, with other ones whom most of them they don't know. When you look at the crowded areas in transitional zones in cities, you find that people are, even the ones who are living in the same apartment, sometimes they didn't previously know each other. Okay. People are coming from very different cultures and from very different subcultures. Lots of conflicts and lots of fights every day. Okay, combined with poverty, combined with unemployment, and combined with the existence of criminal gangs in these areas. These criminal gangs want to recruit new members, right, to help them in crime, and they find newcomers coming without a job and in desperate need of money, right? So they think about recruiting them. So there is some pressure also from these criminal gangs who are trying to recruit new ones. And that is a very dangerous social impact that can participate in increasing the crime rate. Okay? Any question, guys? I want everybody to be with me. I want everyone to be with me. Don't let me go to another point unless you understand very well the first point. Okay? Because they are all built on each other. Okay? This Chicago School of Criminology is explaining this situation, okay? And talked about that the social organizations, such as the family and the school, are becoming too weak to maintain proper social control. And this weakness is negatively affecting social stability. And when the individuals are not supervised and are not managed and are not controlled by the social organizations, their behavior becomes loose. What is loose? They just do whatever they feel like doing without lots of precautions. You get it? So they become disorganized. And when the social organizations become too weak to maintain proper social control and to do their functions properly, that is explaining, or that is the explanation of another theory called the social disorganization theory. The social disorganization theory. When the social organizations are too weak to maintain proper social control and to do their functions properly, which is negatively affecting the social stability and negatively affecting the behavior of individuals and giving more chance to the criminal gangs to impact the behavior of these individuals who are not well supervised by the social organizations anymore. Okay? Get it, guys? So we talked about the control theory, the Chicago School of Criminology, and the social disorganization theory. There is one more under structural functionalism called the strain theory. Okay, everybody? Okay. Arshuk, Arkush,
Yes, Professor.
you have any question?
No, Professor.
Okay, Navdeep.
No, Professor.
Okay, Rupinder, I'm still waiting for you to turn on your camera, okay? We said that during our meetings, cameras must be on all of the time.
After the class, I'm going for my shift. That's why I'm prepared for some breakfast. Now I'm just free. Sorry.
Okay, guys, I will continue. We have now the strain theory, still under structural functionalism. The strain theory, okay, talks about the situation in which individuals are too frustrated because they failed to achieve their goals through legal ways. Every one of us is mentally socialized since early childhood to do what? To have very big aims and goals in life, right? Okay, Rupinder, mute yourself, please. Everybody, all of you, mute yourself. Okay? So every one of us is mentally programmed through early childhood to have very big goals and dreams that they want to achieve, right? You want to achieve high standard of living. You want to form some kind of wealth. You want to be successful in life. Okay, but not all people are actually reaching these levels of success. Not all people are. Just a minute, guys. Okay. Not all people are actually. Not all ones are reaching this level of success. Some ones are failing, right? Actually, many people are failing to achieve these goals. And these goals are not only coming from inside them, but also there is social pressure. Their families, okay, the people who are very related to them also, they want these people to be successful. They want them to achieve these big goals. And when you fail to achieve that, you feel that you are a loser, right? You feel that you feel frustrated. This is called strain. This strain is this psychological feeling of frustration, the psychological feeling that you failed to achieve your goals in life through legal ways. Someone's, okay, some people, not all people. Take care, not all people. Some people might not will take care of the words. Some people might start thinking about doing illegal behavior to achieve their goals, which they failed to achieve through legal ways, right? But not everyone thinking about crime would actually do crime, okay? Some of the ones who think about the criminal behavior might might turn into criminal behavior, especially if they find friends or other individuals who were criminals from the beginning and who are encouraging them to do that. We said that in these areas there are criminal gangs, right? And when these criminal gangs find you frustrated and depressed and sad that you failed to achieve your goals through legal ways, what do? They offer advice. What is the advice in this case? What do you think their advice is?
For example,
Like
for
Yeah.
example, I have to
crime,
earn money
robbery.
and I am failed to achieve like find a job, so they will advise us to rob a bank, rob a person who have a money. So these kind of false advices, which mainly leads to crime.
Okay, okay, very good, Iqbal. So they would advise you to do illegal ways. Navdeep, are all of the crimes are so big? Like for example, robbing a bank, like Iqbal said, which or some crimes might be much smaller than that.
Yeah, sometimes are smaller, like sometimes they abuse somebody in there to remove their angriness, and sometimes sometimes if a person is hungry, he snatch food from anybody.
Okay, thank you very much. And Taran Preet, is this switch to criminal behavior happening suddenly or just step after step and very gradually?
According to me, Professor, it happen step by step. Because a criminal gang offer you small crime to achieve your goals, and when you achieve your goals, you get more.
Okay, thank you very much, Taranpreet. Guys, I want you to remember the social learning theory that we discussed in the previous week. Okay? You remember the social learning theory was under the psychological theories. However, although it is a psychological theory, it is still very related to the sociological theories because in sociology we have something called socialization, which is a process of learning behavior from agents of socialization, right? And one of the agents of socialization is peer group. So if your peer group is not criminal, okay, that would have a positive impact on your behavior. That would that might help you staying away from crime. And if your peer group are criminal, that might make you closer and more influenced by criminal behavior. So you will find that all of the sociological theories that we will talk about today, okay, or most of them are to some extent using this social learning in their theories. Okay, so there is relationship between the social learning theory, although it is under the psychological explanation, and the sociological theories that we are talking about today. Because we said, for example, that in these transitional zones, there will be more connection, okay, or more likely to get impacted by people who have previous criminal experience. Okay, you understand it now? So we have structural functionalism. Under structural functionalism, we discussed the Chicago School of Criminology, the control theory, the social disorganization theory, the strain theory. Right? Any question
Yes,
about that before we move to critical criminology? Yes.
no, Professor.
Any question, Rupinder?
No.
Okay, Rupinder, please turn on the light. We need to see you clearly. And Ankush, we don't see you at all. Your camera is turned off, please. We need everybody to stay on the camera all of the time and not be busy with anything else during the class. Okay, now we move to critical criminology. Why critical criminology is called critical? When I say that Ankush, for example, is a critical person, that means that he's criticizing the things that he doesn't like, right? Okay, because there are some things that he think that these things are unfair or they are wrong or they are not done properly, and he's criticizing them. So critical criminology is called critical criminology because it criticizes things in the society that they don't like. They think that these things are not good. Okay, why? Do you remember when I said that the most important factor for structural functionalism is social stability? Okay,
Yes.
what is the most important factor for critical criminology?
Social
From
inequalities
excellent, but the opposite of social inequality, Kubair, which
is
is
social equality.
exactly. Thank you very much. So, critical criminology thinks that social equality is the most important factor, and that's why they criticize social
What
inequalities.
is
Can you give us examples of social inequalities, guys? Examples of social inequalities? Hmm. First example, class inequality, racial inequality, caste inequality, ethnic inequality, okay, religious inequality when there are different groups of people who belong to different religions, but some of them are having more power in the society and they are unfair with the other ones, right? It could be geographical based inequality in which people in particular locations of the country are having more power than the ones who are living in other places, and they are using their power against the other ones, right? So there are different forms of inequalities, okay? And these inequalities lead to what? That a group of people is having more political and economic power, and other group or other groups are weak, are weak in terms of political and economic power, right? And you remember, guys, when we talked about the legislative authority and the judicial authority and the executive authority, are these authorities always totally fair or sometimes they are biased? What do you think? Are these authorities always totally fair or sometimes they are biased? What do you think about these authorities? Tell me. The judicial authority, the first of all, the legislative authority. The legislative authority is the authority that is making the laws, right? Are all of the laws in every country all of the time fair, and they are designed for the welfare of the society in general, or sometimes they are manipulated by the powerful people and designed to make them more powerful at the expense of everybody else? What do you think?
Yes, Professor. In some cases, they are not fair enough because the most powerful peoples make the laws for their own benefits, for their own government running procedure, not for the public, but only for the powerful peoples.
Okay, excellent, Ankush. For example, during the British colonialism of India, do you know some examples of laws which were unfair for Indians, but they were designed to give the British more economic and political power? Anybody remembers any example about that? Or even or even some students in the class talked about the farmers' protests, for example. Were there any laws that the farmers that the farmers considered to be unfair laws, and they were protesting against these laws? Mm.
Yes, Professor. In British government, Indians cannot make their own salt. They just have to buy from the foreign countries so that it could benefit only foreigners, not the Indians. So there are also many other products which they do not grow on the farming or buy from inside the India, but to buy from the other side of the countries.
Very good examples. And when people were resisting these unfair laws, this resistance was considered legal or illegal? When people were doing resistance against these unfair laws, those unfair authorities which made the laws, did they consider the resistance to be legal or illegal?
They consider it illegal, but they are fighting for their rights in their own
Okay,
way.
thank you very much, Iqbal. Thank you very much, Angush. Okay, so I want you to just wake up your minds and try to connect between the theory and the reality. So the critical criminology is criticizing these situations in which the people who are having the political power and who are having the economic power are using their power in unfair way to exploit the other groups of people who don't have power in the society. Okay? And this inequality could be different types of inequality. It could be class inequality, it could be caste inequality, it could be like the inequality that happened under colonialism, right? Okay? Okay. And and here the legislative authority, if the legislative authority is biased, if the legislative authority is unfair, the laws that they will be making, the laws that they will be producing, are not designed for the welfare of the whole society, but for the welfare and the well being of a particular powerful group in the society. That they want them to even become more and more powerful, economically powerful, political powerful, at the expense of everybody else. Okay? You get it? And any resistance of that would be criminalized, would be illegalized, would be considered illegal. Okay? Because they are the ones who decide what is legal and what is illegal. Okay? And even if the laws are okay, even if the laws are not biased, okay, the implementation of the laws, how the laws get executed, which authority is doing the execution? The executive authority, such as the police, for example. Sometimes the police is doing something called police racial profiling. What is police racial profiling, guys? What is police racial? Let's say that you are on a highway or in the airport, and there is a checkpoint where the police has the right to inspect people. Okay, so what if this police is unfair? Okay, if they are racists. Okay, what is police racial profiling? Anybody knows? Anybody hear this expression before? Okay, let's say that, because of course they cannot inspect every person, but they should be randomly choosing some people to get inspected, right?
Yeah,
But
for example, they will choose only a small cars as compared to a big cars, as they think if the person have a expensive car, they have a reputative image in the society, so they will let it go, and the cars which are
excellent,
small.
Akmal. Very good, excellent, very good. But this is not police racial profiling. What you are talking about is police class profiling. So this discrimination, this inequality, sometimes might be based on the class difference, sometimes might be based on the racial difference, sometimes might be based on the religious difference. Okay, in whatever differences, but in all of these cases, it is a kind of discrimination, right? It is a kind of inequality. Okay, you get it? Okay. When so also the executive authority might be biased sometimes. The and the
Maybe
judicial also. Yes, Rupinder. Yeah.
sometime a police officer behave with according to their gender or race or
Very good, very good, excellent. So when the police or the executive authority in general are biased in terms of gender or race or class or caste or whatever kind of biases, that is increasing the inequalities in the society, right? The judicial authority as well might be biased sometimes. So when there's a dispute in the court between you and somebody who belongs from an upper caste or an upper class ruling family, okay? If the court is unfair, how the laws will get interpreted in favor of the truth or in favor of the person who has more power? Hmm? If the government, if the judges are biased, okay, so the laws will be interpreted in favor of the truth, in favor of the reality, or in favor of the party that has more power.
The party
It will
that has a more.
party.
Okay, so this situation is also criticized by critical criminology. Okay, you get it, guys? And critical criminology is saying that this lack of fairness, this lack of equality, leads to a very frustrating situation in which, when the powerful people do crime, they get very leniently punished if they ever got punished. What is the meaning of leniently punished? Getting very softly punished. Okay, just imagine some examples that some students talked about in the class before, in which some politicians are doing they are powerful politicians and they are using their political power to do crimes. Okay, and usually when that happens, there is a very low chance that they get caught, because they use their political power to hide their crimes and uh, and to make and to make themselves above the law, right? And even in the cases in which they get caught, and even in the fewer cases in which they get punished, okay, when you compare this punishment to the amount of harm that they cause to the society, you find that the punishment is less than the harm that they cause to the society. Okay, so they usually don't get caught, and even when they get caught, sometimes they don't get punished, and even when they get punished, the punishment is usually soft and lenient. Okay, you get it? So that would make them feel safer and feel that they are above the laws, so that would encourage them to do more crimes, right? When you feel that you are safe and nobody can touch you and nobody can punish you, and so that would encourage you to do more and more crimes, right? Okay, and what about the other groups of people who are seeing all of that and see this unfair situation, and they see that when they do less harmful crimes, they get more severely punished? Would that make them angry or not? It would make them angry, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes, bro.
this anger might persuade. Not saying that this is right, but that can happen in the minds of some people. That could convince some of them that when they do crimes, they are taking revenge from this unfair system. Some ones might think that when they do crimes, they are taking part of their stolen rights. Okay? Some people might think like that. Their minds might work like that. We are not saying that that is correct, but that might happen in some people's thinking. Okay? So the powerful groups might do more crime because they feel safe. And they know that most probably they will not get punished. Okay? And the weaker ones who are the majority, some of them might be more angry, and this anger might and frustration and feeling of unfairness might lead to criminal behavior, right? And the deprivation of basic needs, okay, and wants might lead to criminal behavior as well, right? The poverty and the unemployment might lead to criminal behavior. You get it, guys? Okay? And also the resistance against unfair laws, if that is illegal, so that means that according to the laws, even if these laws are unfair, okay, that would be considered crimes. Do you imagine the situation, guys? Do you imagine what
Yes, yes.
critical criminology is criticizing? Okay, so critical criminology is saying that inequalities are leading to more conflicts and more frustration and more deprivation and more problems and more crimes in the society. Okay, critical criminology is talking, for example, about the comparison between blue collar crimes and white collar crimes. The white collar crimes are the crimes that are usually done by the relatively richer people, and the blue collar crimes are the crimes that are done by the relatively poorer people. Okay? And they are comparing between the punishments that the white collar criminals get and the punishments that the blue collar criminals get. Okay? What do you expect? What do you expect? Guys, I'm reminding everybody again that I don't accept hidden cameras during my classes at all. Okay? I want you to attend the class with your camera on, with your full attention, with your full participation. Doing anything else, checking your phones, checking your social media, doing anything else other than the class itself during the class is not acceptable at all, and it will not be considered assist attendance. Okay, guys? Now turn on your cameras and I want you to give me your insights. Okay? Now, what's the comparison between the blue collar crimes and the white collar crimes? And the punishments that the blue collar criminals get and the punishments that the white collar criminals get. Yes, Rupinder?
Uh, like the white collar is done by the rich people. So basically, whenever they do crime, they do have a power and money, and they might be, if they get caught, they just give them a lightly punishment, like soft, because they have a power. And on the other hand, the blue collar crime done by the poor people, and because of the, like, they do not have any much power, and because of the background, most of the things uh, or like they do not have any to pretend themselves, and they like get a hard punishment.
Okay, thank you very much, Rupinder. Very good, very good, very good answer. Thank you. Okay, under critical criminology, we have several theories which are all criticizing different forms of inequality. We have the conflict theory that was founded by Karl Marx, which is criticizing class inequality, okay, under capitalism. Under capitalism, there are upper ruling classes, the bourgeoisie, who are owning the means of production, okay, and who want to make profit and maximize their profit to be richer and always enlarge their wealth. And these ones are not only having economic power, they are also having indirect political power because they are using their ownership and they are using their wealth to influence the decision making of the government and to influence the different agents of socialization in the society and to influence the media. Okay, and the media is participating in making up in shaping people's awareness. Okay, so according to the conflict theory, this group are having either direct or indirect power to impact the different authorities in the society and to impact the different organizations in the society in their and to manipulate them to maximize their own power, their own wealth, and their own privileges. Okay, and they can also use their power, okay, to manipulate the agents of socialization to create something called false consciousness. False consciousness is when the people of the society get brainwashed by the agents of socialization, such as the media, for example, which convince them to accept unfair situations, which convince them to accept oppression, to accept inequality. Okay? So when you accept a situation that is against your own interests and that is unfair to you, this is called false consciousness. Okay? And according to the conflict theory, when people realize that they are living in oppression and unfairness and they start resistance against these unfair systems, that is called class consciousness. You get it? Okay? So the conflict theory is criticizing class inequalities. Okay? The critical race theory is criticizing some other form of inequality, which is racial inequality. In some societies, you might find that there is a dominant racial group and there are racial minorities. And the dominant racial group is using its economic power and its political power to dominate and control and exploit the racial minorities. And you might find that the legislation of laws and the interpretation of laws and the implementation of laws are manipulated in favor of the dominant racial group at the expense of the other racial minorities who get or receive lots of unfair treatments, such as discrimination, such as racial profiling, such as the examples that we talked about today. You get it, guys? Okay.
Yes, bro.
So we have the class inequality, we have the racial inequality. We have several other forms of inequality. In some societies, you might find several religions living together in the same society. Some of the followers of some religions might have more power, and some followers of other groups might have less power, and that might be leading also to the similar kinds of exploitation and unfairness. In some societies, you might find people in the north or the south or the east or the west, or people in the cities and people in the villages are having unequal powers. That might lead to some kinds of inequalities and unfairness as well, right? The same thing can apply on people who belong to different ethnic backgrounds, different ethnicities. Okay? What's the difference between ethnicity and race? Race is referring to the difference in physical appearance because they think, and by the way, that is scientifically not very precise, but that's what people think. They think that people who have different physical appearances, like the color of the skin, for example, they are coming from different races. Okay, this is not an anthropology class. If it's an anthropology class, we'll discuss that in detail. Okay, it's a criminology class. But these racial differences sometimes is leading also to discrimination and I'm sorry, this the racial differences and the ethnic differences. The racial differences can lead to discrimination, and the ethnic differences also can lead to discrimination. The ethnicity is referring to the cultural background. For example, you have different groups of people in the society living together, and each of them belonging to a different ethnic background. Okay, so this is called ethnicity. Sometimes the discrimination and the inequality is based on these ethnic backgrounds, like people who are coming from from an Indian background, for example, they get different treatment from the ones who are coming from a European background. Okay, do you feel that sometimes? Did you ever feel that? It might happen. If it happened, and if it impacted the authorities, if it impacted the implementation of laws, and if it impacted the legal system, if it impacted the executive authority, if it impacted the legislation of laws and the interpretation of laws, so that might lead to inequalities which are based on ethnic differences. You get it, guys? So under the conflict theory, we have the conflict theory. I'm sorry, under critical criminology, we have the conflict theory, and we have the critical race theory. Okay? And we have a theory that is called left realism. What is left realism? Because of the inequalities, some people might suffer from deprivation. What is deprivation? Deprivation is lacking the opportunities and lacking the life chances and lacking the income that can enable you to live to live in the standard of living that would satisfy you. Okay, some people might be absolutely deprived, and some people might be relatively deprived. Absolutely deprived means that they are lacking the necessities of life. They are too poor to buy food. They are too poor to provide for themselves the necessities of life. So this is absolute deprivation. They are living in absolute poverty. Okay, they might steal to feed their children. This is absolute deprivation. Okay, you get it? And some ones might suffer from relative deprivation. Okay, or relative poverty, in which they are not starving, but they are under the general standard of living, under the average standard of living in the society. So they feel that most of people in the society are living in a standard of living that is above them. Okay? And that might encourage some of them to do some crimes. Okay? And according to left realism, who are the original ones who caused this deprivation? Take care. According to left realism, and left realism is under critical criminology, which is criticizing inequality. Okay? So, according to left realism, who are the original people who caused this deprivation or these forms of deprivation? Yes, Aqbal.
Maybe the people who do not have the power
Who do not have the power or who
have
have
the
the
power.
power?
Uh, Mainly they
Okay.
criticize them based on the power. Who do not have the power, they are the main victim of in their thinking as compared to those.
How come, Iqbal? How come this theory, okay, left realism, is under critical criminology, which is criticizing the ones who have the power?
Who have the
It says
power?
that the ones who have the power, they are misusing this power,
Power.
okay, to make themselves more powerful at the expense of everybody else, right?
Okay.
Okay. And this misusage of power is making the other groups in the society be deprived. Okay? What is deprivation? Deprivation is
Is
lacking
the
the resources that
this
will make you live in a particular standard of living. Okay? Right? So if you are either absolutely poor or relatively poor, and if you are lacking resources, according to left realism, this lack of resources is caused by whom? By the ones who are controlling the resources, right?
right?
Okay? So caused by the ones who are having more power in the society and misusing this power. You get it, guys?
Yes.
Take care. Left realism is one of the theories, one of the very important theories under critical criminology. Okay? So, Rupinder, what is the meaning of the word deprivation? I want all of you to search this word up, please. We will not understand this theory without understanding the meaning of the word deprivation. What is deprivation? Search it up and write the meaning in the chat box here.
Can you repeat the word?
Rupinder, your voice is not clear.
Like, but can you please repeat the word?
Deprivation.
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 Okay. Thank you.
Deprivation. Deprivation. Hmm. Who found it first?
So here is the meaning of that. It means that not having something that is necessary or important.
Okay, very good. And according to critical criminology, who led to that? Who caused this situation?
So here just to give you some example, like basic needs, like food deprivation when someone doesn't have enough food to eat.
Okay, okay. My question now, thank you very much. This is the meaning of deprivation.
Okay.
According to critical criminology, who are the original causes? Who are the people who cause this deprivation?
Powerful people,
Exactly. Thank you. Why?
because they have enough power, they use and create laws according to their well-being, in which they benefit more as compared to another classes like middle classes and another people.
Excellent. Very good. Is that only based on class, or it can be based on other differences other than the class?
Yeah, there are another reason like a religion, countries, like they have immigrants in their country on that time. This thing also happened with them, like there are some rules which is not benefit the immigrants, but as compared to the natives of that country, they are benefit them more and make them more powerful.
Excellent. Very good. And sometimes the indigenous people of the country
Yeah,
might be the ones who are deprived, right?
yeah.
Do you have an example about that from Canada?
Like in Canada,
Throughout centuries, what happened to the indigenous people of Canada after the Europeans colonized what is now Canada? What happened to the indigenous people of Canada? How they over centuries they suffered from deprivation. What do you know about that? Of course, you know about the British colonialism of India. I know about that, of course, because this is your country. But the British didn't only colonize India; they colonized other parts of the world as well, right? Okay, so what happened in North America and in South America as well? Of course, you know that the British, the French, and the Spanish and the Portuguese have colonized North and South America, right? What happened to the indigenous people? How how the lands were taken from them, how they were forced to go to move to other areas which are less fertile and having worse climate, and how throughout generations they were deprived of some of their basic rights. Okay, do you think that this deprivation was the cause of some kind of crimes or some kinds of illegal behavior? Hmm. Tarampreet, I want you to participate with us, please. I want everybody to participate, guys. Prabjot, I didn't hear you answering any question at all, and I don't see you on the screen. You are here or you are not here. Hmm. Anyone has some information about the indigenous, how the indigenous people of Canada and some and not only Canada, many other countries suffered a lot because of colonialism, and how that led to depriving them of many rights, which led to some kinds of illegal behavior. Okay, try to think about that because of the time of the class, and try to find some ideas about that. Of course, you know that our exam is after tomorrow, okay, and we don't know. Okay, so please think. Fine. I will appreciate very much of anyone if anyone has any idea about that. How the indigenous people of America are suffering. North America, South America, Canada, US, Australia, New Zealand, any part of the world in which the land was taken from its original people, from its indigenous people. Hmm. Okay, now, now we will move to, still under critical criminology, there is something called intersectionality. What is intersectionality? Now, if Iqbal, Ankush, Rupinder, Tanpreet, okay, and Prabjot are immigrants to Canada, okay, so they are immigrants. They they are also might be suffering sometimes from racial discrimination, okay, because of their physical appearance. They might be also suffering from class discrimination because they are in low payment jobs. Okay, they might be suffering from ethnic discrimination because they belong to a different ethnic or cultural background. Okay, right? So the same person, the same people might be sometimes suffering from different kinds of inequality at the same time, might be suffering from different kinds of discrimination at the same time. Okay, right? That can lead to even worse impacts. That can lead to not only one kind of discrimination, it can be two or three or four or five types of discrimination, okay, towards or against the same people at the same time, right? Okay, so in this case, the inequality would be tripled and more than tripled. The impact of inequality would be tripled or more than tripled because they are not only suffering from one kind of inequality but several kinds of inequality at the same time. Intersectionality is studying these situations. Yes, Rupinder.
Oh, sorry. It just by mistake. I will just read something. It's laws of culture and identity because of the ingenious culture often containing some scared side to space essential for traditional practice.
Okay, you are answering the previous question when before I talked about intersectionality.
Okay.
You are now answering the previous question about the indigenous people, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. But now I'm very good, thank you. But now I'm talking about something else, which is intersectionality. Who can explain to me what is intersectionality that I have just explained? It is the study of a particular situation in which complete the sentence. Yes, Iqbal.
in which we face even a tripled or more discrimination at the same time from the same person.
Okay, and this discrimination it can be different types of discrimination at the same time. Can you
Mhm.
give me example of how the same people might be suffering from different kinds of discrimination and inequality at the same time?
For example, for my physical structure, for my class, and even from my like uh, mentality. For example, I have different thoughts, the person in front of me have different thoughts. So I think these three basic reasons, like physical appearance, different thoughts, as well as my class, like I am working on the low class wages and they are rich people. So on that time there are more chances that I feel a discrimination.
Okay, very good. Now let's make the question a little bit more sophisticated. Okay, this inequality can lead to crimes by the powerful. Okay, illegal behavior by the powerful who are having more power, and it can also lead to illegal behavior by the oppressed ones who are suffering from inequality. So that this situation can lead to crimes by the powerful and crimes by the weak.
I think from the both. For example, there are sometimes the people. For example, I am working for any person. He do not give my wages. He is doing due to his power. And if I want to take revenge because I there are my needs and some necessity like food, shelter, and clothes. So on that time, in my mind, it also happened to do a crime because he's not giving me my right. So I think it's on the both sides. The powerful is also doing crime, and the person who is a discrimination by the class, like he also do crime.
Excellent example, Iqbal. I hope that everyone understands Iqbal's example because really it's a very good example. Thank you, Iqbal. Okay, very good, guys. Thank you. Now, guys, we finished with critical criminology. What is left? Just the third school of sociological explanations of crime, which is symbolic interactionism. Symbolic interactionism. Why it's called interactionism and why it's called symbolic? The word symbolic comes from everything in the world that has a meaning in people's minds. Okay, like for example, if a particular the traffic signals, they have a meaning in people's mind, right? Particular colors, particular words, particular gestures, anything that has a meaning in people's mind is a symbol. Okay, and people are not always agree about these meanings, but how these meanings get are spreading from person to a family, and from the family to the community, and from the community to the society, and from one society to other societies through social interaction, through communication, through the interaction between individuals and each other. So symbolic interactionism is basically talking about how individuals are impacting the behavior of each other. In criminology, symbolic interactionism theories are discussing how the individuals might be impacting the criminal or the non-criminal behavior of each other. How the individuals might lead each other to do more or less crime. how the individuals might influence each other to do more or less illegal behavior. And under this, we have two theories. One of them is called the labeling theory, and the other one is called differential association theory. The labeling theory, and the other one is called differential association theory. Okay, guys? Okay, let's talk first about the labeling theory. Anybody would like to start? Anyone knows what is labeling? We had a video about that in the portal. What is labeling? Prabjot, I would be very happy if I hear from you today. And also if I see you. You have been disappearing all of the time. I have only seen you for 1 second. Okay, what is labeling? Let's say, guys, that that I will give you a very simplified example first. Okay, we are living in a society together. Okay, and we all it is we all know each other. Okay, I know you, I know your family, I know your friends, I know your employers. Okay, and what if I just imagine this situation? What if I spread a rumor about Ankush, that Ankush is a criminal? Okay, he's not a criminal. He's a very nice guy. Okay, but I spread a rumor about him that he's a criminal, and people in the society believed my rumor. So Ankush now became stereotyped, became labeled that he's criminal. His employers believed this rumor and they fired him. So he's now unemployed. Okay? His good friends believed this rumor and they unfriended him. So he's now socially rejected by his friends. Even his family, okay, believed this rumor and they stopped talking to him. So he became socially isolated. A very sad situation, right? A very sad situation. Okay? And even Ankush wants to get married, nobody accepts. They think that it's criminal. He's not. I know that you're a very nice guy, Ankush, but okay, but he's not. Everybody, okay, all of the all of the non-criminal social groups that Ankush was related to, was attached to, they are now getting disconnected from him, okay, unfriending him, socially rejecting him. Okay, so Ankush now feels that the society is labeling him as a criminal. Okay, he might, I'm not saying he will, he might start thinking if they are any way treating me as a criminal. So what would happen if I actually do crime? This kind of thinking might come to his mind, right? He might think like that. What would happen if I actually do crime? Since they are they are already treating me as a criminal. Okay, and what might make the situation much worse if Ankush has some criminal record in his history. He's not criminal now, but at some point of time he did anything illegal. Okay, so they used this to spread, to even spread this label about him and convince others that Ankush is a criminal. Okay, so now Ankush find it very difficult for him to live a normal life in which he doesn't do crime. He lost his job, he lost his friends, he lost his family. They are treating him as a criminal. He lost his life opportunities because of that. Okay, that he might start thinking about doing crime, right? And if he actually, if he actually, okay, was dragged into criminal behavior, that is called self-fulfilling prophecy. So write it down. Self-fulfilling prophecy is behaving according to the social expectations and impressions about yourself. Okay? When the society thinks that you are X, so you gradually you are becoming this X. When the society thinks that you are Y, so you are gradually becoming this Y. This is called self-fulfilling prophecy, which might be one of the consequences of labeling. You get it? Okay? So this is labeling. Is labeling related to differential association? Of course, very related to differential association. Okay. Now let's return to Ankush. While Ankush is in this terrible situation, nobody wants to talk to him, nobody wants to employ him. Okay. And his good friends who are not criminal, they also socially rejected him. Who are the ones who are approaching him now and who
Criminals.
try? Who?
Criminals.
Exactly. Yes. They know that Ankush became lonely and he became jobless. He became moneyless. Okay. He is, and they start approaching him. They give him gifts. They make him feel that they are the people who are standing behind him and beside him and supporting him. Okay. They are treating him in a friendly, nice way. So what will happen to Ankush emotions, feelings? He will feel that these are the only ones who are supporting him while everybody else rejected him, right? Okay. So he might get emotionally and socially attached to these people, if, right? Okay. More associated with them. What is differential association? Every one of us is having the different social groups that we are associated with. This association, okay, sometimes sometimes you are weakly associated with a social group and sometimes you are strongly associated with a particular social group. Okay, you are having different social groups that you are associated with in your life, but you are not equally associated with all of these social groups. You are having family and you are having one or two or three or four or five peer groups. You are having the colleagues in the workplace, you are having the colleagues in the university. Okay, you are having your neighborhood, you are having different groups of people that you are associated with. But which one of them would influence your behavior more? The one that you are interacting more with, that you are more attached to. The more you are attached with a group, the more you will get influenced by the behavior of that group. Okay, right? Okay, the more you are attached to a group, the more you will get influenced by the norms and criminal or the non-criminal or whatever kind of behavior this group is doing. You get it? Okay. And of course, this influence, as we said, is a gradual influence. At the beginning, if you are attached to a criminal group, you are not criminal. At the beginning, you might you might feel that you reject their criminal behavior at the beginning, but they are your friends and most probably are not going to report their crimes. And these crimes are having victims. So that you know that there are some people who will get victimized because of their crimes. However, you are still not reporting these crimes. You know that they will happen, and you know that some people will get victimized, but you are not reporting these crimes before they happen. Is this a crime or not a crime?
Crime.
What? Okay, you are having friends, and you know that these friends are criminals, and you know that they are going to do particular crimes, and you know that there are some people who will get victimized by these crimes. However, you don't try, because they are your friends, you don't try to stop these crimes before happening, and you don't report these crimes that you know that they will happen. Is this a crime or not a crime?
Crime.
Yes, it
Crime.
is a crime.
Okay, so by being associated with criminal groups, you might be doing passive crimes even if you are not physically participating in these crimes. Okay, and mentally wise, and psychologically wise, and socially wise, gradually these crimes that are happening, and you know that they are happening by your friends, you will gradually you will stop condemning and rejecting these crimes. Gradually you start feeling that this is normal behavior. And when you feel that it is normal behavior, you might start engaging into this behavior. Okay? And at one point of time, you might become an active member in this criminal group, in this criminal gang. Okay? So the differential association theory is explaining how this kind of interaction might lead to criminal behavior. Okay, and the labeling theory is also explaining how some kinds of interaction, such as labeling some people that they are criminals, might lead them to a criminal career if they started behaving according to the social expectations about them. Okay, so now this is the end of today's sociological explanations of crime. We talked about three schools, and under each school we had different tiers. We talked about the structural functionalism, and under structural functionalism we talked about the Chicago School of Criminology. We talked about the social disorganization theory, the control theory, and the stream theory. And we talked about critical criminology, and under critical criminology we talked about the conflict theory, the critical race theory, left realism, and intersectionality. We talked about symbolic interactionism, and under symbolic interactionism we had the labeling theory and the differential association theory. Okay guys, i hope I hope that you will study very well for the exam. Okay, and hopefully you will all get very good marks. Okay, and the most important is to study with understanding. Okay, now if you have any questions, ask me before we finish this meeting today. And thank you very much for the ones who attended, and the special thanks for the ones who turned their cameras on, and the special thanks for the ones who actively participated. Okay, thank you guys.